because we need to talk about Kansas. We need to talk about the top two teams losing. So, all right, I got some facts for you guys. You ready? Facts and stats and info. This was
pull out your Torvik.
I'm pulling out this is more like pull out your Elias Sports Bureau, maybe something like that. Anyway, this
too
was
wordy. Too wordy to be funny.
Yeah, too wordy. So Kansas lost at home by 23 points to TCU. That was the biggest home loss ever for a top two team in the AP poll. It was the second biggest home loss ever for Bill Self at Kansas. It was TCU's first ever win in Fog Allen Fieldhouse.
Crazy.
So, T.O., we'll go to you first on this one because you were the first one to mention Kansas. Does this say more about TCU or the Jayhawks? Because I'm kind of torn on that, if I'm being frank.
Guys, there was a lot of emotional expenditure when they went to Manhattan. And then not only that, like you can't really breathe because you got to play TCU a few days later. And if you're tired at all playing against Mike Miles and Damian Ball, you can forget it because Mike Miles is the fastest person in basketball shoes with the ball in his hands.
What did you say about him? Looks like
I said he had a rocket in his ass. Mike Miles got a rocket in his ass. He's the fastest dude. He's got, here, there, and gone. That's his 3 speeds. And he, it's amazing how fast that dude. He's the fastest guy with a basketball I've seen since Ty Lawson. Like, that is saying a lot. I know John Wall was fast. Ty Lawson was the fastest person I've ever seen in person. He was ridiculous. He was a one-man press break by himself. He was incredible. But
Ja Morant's up there too.
Yeah, but Ja was a little bit different because whenever he was pressed, his half-court speed was so much different. I'm talking like end to end. He's still very fast. I didn't see it as much at Murray State. Like his ability to,
because they had 3 guys in front of him at all time. Like Mike Miles gets the ball, it's 2 dribbles, and it's literally a layup for somebody.
That's what I'm saying. That's more of what I'm getting at. Not that John Morant isn't amazing. He's my.
I can't believe you're hating on John Morant again, T.O. Unbelievable.
No, but
you and Shannon Sharp.
Wow, Shannon. Oh yeah. How about that? That was embarrassing.
We don't need to slander Fanta's Fox colleagues.
Yeah, that was brutal.
I fully back Shannon Sharp.
No, you don't.
I fully back Shannon Sharp.
No, you don't.
Yo, don't come into my MFing house.
I'll tell you this much.
I
think Fanta is probably the one person on the field of 68 where he would not back down from Steven Adams. He would go right back. You see that 7-foot New Zealand monster coming at you. Yeah, Fanta's not backing down. I'm probably backing down. T.O.'s running the other direction. Fanta's right there. Like,
that's a wild accusation.
What's up? I played left guard in high school, sir.
So, very quickly, 45 seconds on this. So this happened Friday night. I remember reading something on this on Friday night, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. That's so random. Then, we're seeing that the broadcast was talking about this, and, that this went full on viral. What?
I want to know if the fact that he is a broadcaster, if that's any other fan, if that's not a guy that's on TV,
he's out. He's gone.
Banned for life. Life.
Yeah,
but it's not gonna.
Well,
have you ever seen? First of all, have you guys ever seen Shannon Sharp in person? I have. Have you guys seen him in person?
He is an enormous. He's built like a barrel with 0% body fat.
He is not a regular person.
Also, he's a big LeBron guy.
Oh, he was talking trash. That's where it all came from. He was talking trash to Dylan Brooks about LeBron. He's like, you can't stop that or something. Dylan Brooks has something to say back.
Well, you can't. You can't. LeBron James can't be stopped.
Yeah. No, he can't. But that all being said, Shannon, I'm a big fan of Shannon Sharp. Huge fan of Shannon Sharp. I think he's so creative and so funny. And just off the wall, I really enjoy him. Dude, don't do that. You're bigger than that. Yeah. Literally and figuratively. You're not as big as Steven Adams, but dude, you are awesome. Just you don't have to do that. What are you mad for?
He's so South Carolina, it hurts, man. He is not gonna. He's not the kind of guy that's gonna back down from somebody. He's
Oglesby. April headline: Oglesby Morant get into it in Memphis.
All right, here's a question for you. We're at the Final Four. T.O. sitting courtside. Who is T.O. most likely to get in a screaming match with? Who is security going to have to come hold him back from running on the court to go after?
Oh man.
There's only one person I could ever envision that happening. I'm not going to share his name. Only one.
Yeah, as long as it's not. I'm not. You know what? I know who it is. I'm not going to say it. I'm not.
Don't
that's
say
how
it.
big of
Don't
that's
say
how
it.
big of a man I am right now. I'll tell you after the show. I'll tell you after the show. All right. Anyway, Kansas.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Well,
I love people. I love people. Sorry, Fanta. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. Rob asked the question, did we learn more about TCU or more about Kansas in this? Now, I'm going to hop back on the horse that I was riding in the preseason, and honestly, I got off the horse. I did. So you can't take a victory lap. I'm not doing that here on the show. But I will say this. TCU reminded us on Saturday why some people had them in the top 10 in the preseason. They have that on their best day. That it factor that you look for from a team, that's what the Horned Frogs possess. Beyond the elite guard play of Mike Miles, they're just so tough. It's a gang rebounding team. They don't have just one main guy who gets all the boards like a Sheboy with Kentucky or another big who dominates. They just get after it. I mean, in Saturday's win, they had, fellas, 7 guys that had at least 3 rebounds. Nobody had more than 8. They just get up in you defensively. They make you work for everything you're going to get. And if you turn the ball over, you're in trouble against them. And Kansas turned the ball over 17 times. T.O. and I were messaging each other a couple weeks ago, and I said, Terrence, when TCU gets downhill, oh my goodness gracious.
Yep.
They are scary levels of good. Well, you're right. Kansas coming off the emotional game at Kansas State was the best thing that could have happened for Texas Christian University. Right. Jamie Dixon's team defends you. And for TCU, the question is always this. Because TCU did lose to West Virginia earlier in the week. This is the other side of TCU. TCU's good enough to be in a regional final. They're that good. They could be in the Elite Eight, and I don't think it would surprise the 3 of us. It really wouldn't. They're also bad enough to get picked off in the round of 32. And the reason why I say that is, yet again, they're a team that offensively, if they're stuck in the half court, can be flat out ugly. I mean, against West Virginia, they hit 2 threes in the game. They couldn't find anything. Now, of course, against Kansas, and then I'll toss it back to you, Rob, they get Shahada Wells to have a career performance pretty much out of nowhere, where a guy averaging 5 points per game on this day goes for 17 and knocks down 3 triples. That's the kind of team they are. They need someone to emerge alongside Miles, whether it be Emmanuel Miller or Damian Baugh. It can't just be the Miles show. At times, offensively, they're a concern. But in terms of the toughness factor, the defense factor, the rebounding factor, the ability to turn you over, they are a top 5 team in the country that I would pick out of all those categories.
So my biggest concern with them is that they rely a little bit on other teams making mistakes to be able to thrive. It reminds me a lot of Press Virginia from like the 2018, 2019, 2020 kind of era.
Yes.
Where if you have good guard play that is not going to get sped up, that is not going to get flustered, that you're going to be able to run good offense and you're going to make the ball go through the basket, they're kind of limited. If you can force them to play in the half court, you're going to be able to beat them. If they can get out and run, they're going to do things like win at Baylor. They're going to do things like hand Kansas State, their only loss of the Big 12 season. They're going to do things like win in Fog Allen Fieldhouse by 23 points. Mm-hmm. So they're a little bit, to me, they can be influenced by the team that they are playing. I want to ask you this, Tio. I want to go back to Kansas really quick.
Didn't TCU really struggle with turnovers last year? They've cut that down significantly this season.
Yeah, it was like turnovers and shooting, which is why they're running so much in transition right now.
That's right. It alleviates that. That was going to be my point to get to. It alleviates that. I think you learn more about TCU than you did to Kansas because I'm almost willing.
I agree.
Let me ask you this about Kansas, because this is what they've done in their last 3 games. Basically.
By the way, before you give that stat, TCU has now beaten Kansas and Kansas State. Just saying, very impressive.
Yeah. They on their best day they could play with anybody. Mm-hmm. All right, so this is the stretch that Kansas is currently on. They were at Texas Tech. They were at West Virginia. They played home for Oklahoma. They played home for Iowa State. All 3 of those games, they were down, and they needed to make a run to come back and win, right? Same thing with Oklahoma State at home, right? 4 out of their last 5, they were down, and they had to make a run to come back and win. They lost at Kansas State by a possession. They got smacked at home by TCU. They're at Baylor next. They're at Kentucky on Saturday. And they get Kansas State at home. Then they're at Iowa State. And they get Texas at home. Like, one, that is an absolutely brutal schedule. Mm-hmm. Two, I think that part that the how tough that schedule is part of what happened on Saturday. Like, it just kind of, they were playing with fire by getting down. And I think it kind of burned them a little bit. But Tio, my question is this. Are these struggles just a result of how difficult the conference is, and we got to be excited about the fact that they're winning games? Or is there something to be worried about with the team at this point that really has 5 guys, that really only has one guy that is consistently making shots, and has a point guard that you can kind of decide not to defend? DeJuan Harris, last 3 games, 1 for 13 from the floor. How are you? Is any of this making you worried about what Kansas is? Are they still a national title contender, or is this just like a top 15 kind of a team?
I think they're a national title contender still, because if you're in the top 15, you're a national title contender this year.
Fair enough.
So, like, I think that's a big point in all of this. Another thing is, too, is that Kansas State, it was just so much emotional expenditure there. Like, that's a rivalry game. Kansas State's juiced to play them. They're the Super Bowl. And then they're tired and they run into TCU. And now they have to play Baylor 2 days later. You want to talk about no favors from a scheduling perspective? Exhibit A. I think the biggest improvement you're going to see is going to be after this Baylor game. If they can squeak by and steal one at Baylor, because this is what the NBA would call a scheduling loss. I'm not saying they're going to lose, but it's going to be hard because Baylor's starting to find their rhythm too. But
they won 4 in a row.
Huh?
They won 4 in a row.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then so you get through this one, you have Tuesday through Saturday to get ready for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kansas needs a day off. Tuesday, like, go to the sauna or something. Like, don't do anything. That's what all the Europeans would be saying to do. Go to the sauna and then relax. I wasn't a big sauna guy, but you get my point. They need a day to relax, breathe a little bit after this Baylor game. And I think you're going to see improvement, at least after Baylor. If they're able to squeak one out in Baylor, that says a lot about their team. But I think the Kansas State game was the one that really, it took the wind out a little bit.